from California is recognized for 3 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, I rise in strong support of H.R. 1644, the Korean Interdiction and Modernization of Sanctions Act. This bill was introduced by the chair and ranking member of the full committee, Mr. Royce and Mr. Engel, and by the chair and ranking member of the Asia subcommittee, Mr. Yoho, and myself. It is a clear example of bipartisanship the way it should be here in the House of Representatives. North Korea continues to act as a state sponsor of terrorism, test ballistic missiles, conduct cyber warfare, build nuclear weapons, and threaten the United States and our allies. We need a strategy to confront North Korea. And an essential part of that strategy is to confront North Korea with economic and political pressure. A key to that would be to get China fully on board and to be willing to threaten China with tariffs if China continued to serve as the lifeline for the North Korean criminal regime. But in addition to working with China, we need to start modernizing our own sanctions regime to impose a greater cost on Kim Jong-un. This bill expands the North Korea Sanctions and Policy Enhancement Act passed by this Congress in 2016 to provide expanded and mandatory and discretionary sanctions on North Korean government, particularly involving gold and other precious minerals, jet fuel, coal, iron ore, and textiles. The bill requires the U.S. financial institutions to ensure that no correspondent accounts are being used by foreign financial institutions to provide financial services to North Korea. It does a host of other necessary things, including requiring the State Department to submit to Congress a report detailing their decision on whether to put North Korea back on the state sponsor of terrorism list, and that we get that report within 90 days. It seems clear to me that North Korea should be listed as a state sponsor of terror. We took them off the list not because they stopped engaging in international terror, but as a quid pro quo for suspending their own nuclear program, which they didn't suspend. So why are they still off the list? There is no doubt that North Korea has engaged in multiple acts of international terrorism, including the murder of the half-brother of Kim Jong-un, the cyber attack against Sony Pictures, and although the initial action was taken decades ago, they seized Japanese civilians in order to learn Japanese manners in order to instruct their spies. They continue to hold those Japanese civilians today, a continuing act of terrorism. And finally, the bill requires a report from the President cooperation between North Korea and Iran. We would suspect that North Korea, after it builds a certain cache of nuclear weapons, would be willing to sell to Iran, not for millions, but for billions of dollars, fully assembled nuclear weapons or the fissile material to create those. And this is an important thing Congress needs to address. I yield back.
The time of the gentleman has expired. The gentleman from California is recognized.
I yield 2 minutes.